attack point for the rest of the infrastructure. Also, security at guest OS level also is very important. So, in a virtual infrastructure, when a virtual machine has been launched in a server, making sure that the operating system which is running in that guest in that virtual machine also is secure. So, we have to make sure of that. Also, we have to make sure that security is maintained at the application level. So, for physical security, as I explained, we have to make sure that the server is physically secure. Only authorized users have access to the server, and also you can disable the unused hardware such as the USB port, so that you can make sure that some malicious attacker doesn't come and use the USB port to copy some malicious software and get the system down. Hypervisor security makes sure that hypervisor is not attacked by an attacker. So, how can you make sure that your hypervisor is secure is by installing updates. So, security updates, software updates are released very regularly. So, making sure that your software is up to date, you update the software very often, and also harden the virtual machines, not just the hypervisor, the virtual machines itself. So, the security has to be ensured. Also, one more component which can be of point of attack would be hypervisor management system. So, there would be a software which will manage the hypervisor. So, if the if the communication between the hypervisor management system and the hypervisor is not secured, so there can be a attack in the communication channel, and so this has to be avoided. So, as explained, VM hardening and VM isolation is one of the security mechanism to secure the VM. So, if one particular VM in a cloud infrastructure has been compromised, if there has been an attack on that, it has to be isolated from the rest of the resources, rest of the VMs, to make sure that this attacker doesn't get control over the rest of the virtual machine or the infrastructure. And VM hardening is a concept where each of the VM is made secure. So, how can you ensure it is by installing the VM from a template, where already security software such as antivirus and data loss prevention products and other security measures, other security software have been already installed. So, such an image, by creating virtual machine from such an image, can make sure that VM is secure. So, also guest OS and application security. So, the OS has to be updated very regularly, and regular software mechanisms such as antivirus products again has to be up to date. And also applications have to make sure that application also is secure, and you have regular updates of applications. So, now we covered at the compute level how to make sure that your hypervisor and your server is secure. Now, what about the network traffic in a cloud infrastructure? So, somebody can come and attack the network. So, one of the way is to have the virtual firewall. So, your regular firewall takes care of the communication between the virtual infrastructure and the rest of the world, the outside network. What about VM to VM communication? So, there will be some network communication between each of the virtual machines. And in case of public cloud infrastructure, several VMs might be belonging to a particular organization, and the rest of the VMs might be belonging to another organization. So, what about the communication between these VMs? So, this communication will not be protected by a normal firewall. So, a virtual firewall will ensure the traffic between each of the VMs are secure. So, DMZ or demilitarized zone is one more way of ensuring network security. So as you can see, there is an external network and you have your internal network. So if all of your internal network is exposed to the external, it would become easy for an attacker to get access to your network. So you established a demilitarized zone, so several set of servers which are only a set of servers are exposed to the outside network, and your communication with the outside network happens through the demilitarized zone. So this will reduce the probability of an attack, direct attack to your internal network. So it's also important to secure your data which is at rest. So the data at rest is data which is stored in a server or in any of the storage locations. So if the data is not encrypted, or if it's a raw data which is stored in your physical storage, if an attacker gets access to your data, it becomes easier for the attacker to make use of your data. So if you encrypt your data at which is at rest, so even if attacker gets hold of your data, it's in an encrypted format, so it is of no use to the attacker. So it is very important to secure your data at rest, which is done through encryption. So security at network level is securing data in flight, as we explained. So data will be at rest, which is stored like files which are stored in server, but there will be data which is being sent for email communication or some file sharing mechanism where your files are hosted at a location and your client is trying to access your files. So at network level also your data can be stolen or can be compromised. So you need to have network level security to ensure that data which is moving from one location to another, the data which is in flight, is also secured. So data shredding is one more concept where, for example, when you actually delete your data, there might be some residual data which is there in the disk, which might be which can be accessed by an attacker and made use. So to avoid this, data shredding is a mechanism where the data is erased from the disk permanently and making sure that no residual data is left.